Hello YouTubers, I want to welcome you to another edition of Bargain Bin Gear, and in this episode I'd like to talk to you about power. Okay, in particular, as you create like a home studio type thing, you start using more and more plugins, right? And the temptation is to use, those cheapo power strips, right? And these are just for music studios, even home studios. These are bad news, okay? And one of the big reasons is because of those power strips, right? They're not isolated. In other words, the noise it creates or what have you, right, goes on to the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one. So it adds on, right? Besides not providing any real protection whatsoever. Okay. So that's one thing. And you also want to avoid this. As you may realize, I've been doing a lot of living room kind of couch playing and recording, hooking up amps and so on. Using a lot of outlets, and I realized, hey, wait a minute, this is kind of getting out of hand, right? And I was using little power strips, daisy chaining them. Not a good idea, terrible idea, I was quite careful about it, but still, that can end up being a dangerous situation, as well as bad for the equipment, if there's a surge or something, it could wipe all that out. So, of course, I went on and got one of these. Triplite isobar. Okay? And the reason is because each of these outlets is truly isolated right here. So it's not going to generate a lot of noise, as well as having actual surge suppression here. Anyway, this is better than a channel strip. Made out of metal, it's quite durable, and comes with this heavy duty 12-foot cord, right? Now there's also a 6-outlet one, which is a 6-foot cord, but this one's 12. That's huge, right? And compared to a lot of power strips, and a lot of times I would sadly daisy chain them to get them to reach a certain location, which is a terrible idea. So I got this. Now, this Triplite isobar right here, okay, for each isolated outlet, it does have an extra outlet, right? So these two are shared, these two are shared, these two are shared, and these two are shared. But that's a lot better than having them, all shared one after another. Especially if they're generating noise or that kind of thing. Now, and I'm not an expert on this at all. However, I do realize the importance of doing this kind of thing. Often when you buy a computer, they try to sell you a surge protector for that very reason. Now obviously if for some reason you suffer a direct lightning strike Okay, I don't think this is going to protect your equipment at all, really. You just can't handle that, you know. However, for small surges, this is really great. And I've also used it on my pedal board, surprisingly, and discovered, my goodness, it does make a sound difference. My pedal board sounded clearer. Okay, now, some things to consider here. Right? They call this the isobar, and they call it the isobar ultra. Diagnostic, right? Surge suppressor. Wow. So how is it called the diagnostic surge suppressor? And I'll show you. Here are 3 lights when you turn it on, okay? And the first light, which should turn green, is basically the protection. It's basically protection present. So that's your surge protection, basically. And then along with that, right next to it, is a red line fault or a green line OK. Now obviously you would want line OK. However, let's say the red light turns on. That could be because of a lot of different things, right? One, that this unit, you know, maybe there's something wrong with it and that it should be replaced, if that's the case. Or it could be house wiring, and this is quite common, you know, that either the receptacle is loose, or the wiring is loose, or has been out of phase, or that kind of thing. Okay, so something to consider. And to be quite honest, here in this house, I've certainly seen the red light fault come on, you know, in certain rooms. And unfortunately, this is kind of one of them. However, if the surge protector light is on, you're still getting protection. Though how much, that I'm not exactly sure. I'm sure there are people out there who are experts on this kind of thing. Anyway, so when I turn it on here, right, the protection is lit, the green light, but look, the red light is on. And I thought, oh man, I better send this back, right? Because it's showing me that there's something wrong with it, you know. Though I tested this in another room, in another outlet, and it came out where the green light was lit and no red light. Therefore, knowing, and what I know about this particular room, it's no surprise. I've got the red fault light on. Because I have one of these even protecting my television, but you know, I've been using that for 10 years without a problem. However, the red fault light does come on, and I know very well that it's from the wiring of this house. You know, and maybe I could eventually have an electrician take care of that. That would be great. In any case, it's still better than, you know, daisy chaining freaking, you know, little strip, you know, channel strips there, you know, where it's one after another. Those are kind of the worst. So, using these, and What's nice about them, of course, the outlets are very nice, you know, and they're spaced out so that they'll fit from either side, you know. And so this will give me 8 outlets, and I'll get rid of some of these power strips, which I shouldn't be using to begin with, quite frankly. And I was quite surprised at how I didn't even realize how it was getting out of hand, you know, plugging in more things and more things and more things. So this will make quite a difference here. And what's odd is this one is really working well because at some point it switched the red light off and the green light came on, saying the wiring was okay. So maybe what I was plugging into or having something plugged in that it doesn't like. I don't know. I'll definitely find out. And these are going new on Amazon for about $100 or so. You know, and you know, if you've got, you know, $1,000 worth of pedals on your pedal board or what have you, you know, this might be a good idea. However, there's also other things, you know, everything from computers and what have you. You know, even simple things like fans and so on. This will cut down on the noise, you know, not a tremendous amount, but especially if one is problematic, you know. Definitely well worth it, I think, for the, you know, the problems you encounter here, and hopefully don't encounter, you know. But yeah, these have been pretty solid, you know, and also give you an idea of what your wiring is like, you know. That's the other thing. Alright, so, you know, kind of straightforward here, but I'd highly recommend these. I think these are really nice, and pretty strong, you know. And as you saw, I have that channel strip that's freaking broken, exposing wires and things. I mean, that just cannot be good, you know. So this will take care of it, and try to isolate what's causing the wire fault, you know. And I'm glad to see that it's not the unit itself, you know, because I did plug it in, as I said, in another outlet, and it turned green and the line was okay. So it's something here, and I'll try to discover what it is. Alright, so anyway, definitely be aware of, you know, especially if you're getting noise in your amps and things, you know, don't skimp on power, you know, some clean power, just as you would on a pedal board, you know, where you buy power supplies that power the different units, right? And those are real clean power. And try to get isolated outlets. Now, be very careful, because a lot of the inexpensive ones, they claim to be isolated, right? Outputs, but they're not. It's fake. It's not true. There's no other way to describe it. Whereas here, these are actual isolated. Makes a big difference for clean power. Alright, wanted to show you that. So I'm going to be rewiring a lot of things, you know, and try to get a lot of these overloaded channel strips out of here. I shouldn't be using for that at all. You know, it's probably a bad idea. Alright, so something to consider and something to think about, possibly. Definitely for me, it makes a huge difference. Alright, very good. See you next time. Okay, bye.